Hello and welcome to the 5th Kalpa. My name's Nikki and I'll be your guide to the deepest region of the Labyrinth of Amala. You know, the first video that had this format of mine was a video on American pop culture demons in Megami Tensei. Because, you know, it was an interesting subject to me and I saw a void in really any kind of Megaten content at the time. This was like 4 years before I knew about any of the big Megaten creators. Needless to say, a lot has changed since then, including myself. Anyway, there's several glaring issues with that video, specifically from the use of my dead name, and but that's beside the point. Let's talk about Megami Tensei. I've always loved seeing weird references to American pop culture in Megaten, even if it does feel kind of weird. I mean, seeing the Blob, like the Blob from the actual movie The Blob, appear alongside Amaterasu is tonal whiplash, and that's just a Nocturne. SMT2 is wild, but we'll talk about that later. We've got a lot to cover, so I'm probably just gonna split this into a series of maybe a couple of videos. The first of which will be covering movie monsters. Christine. Okay, let's get this super obvious one out of the way first. Christine is based on the possessed car of the same name from the book Christine by Stephen King. This will not be the last time we see Stephen King in this video. It's curious to note that in Shin Megami Tensei 2 and If, this demon is called Chris the Car. But in Giten, it's still called Christine, and it's typically a low-level demon in the Val race, but in Giten, it's the Kugutsu puppet race demon, which is, you know, only comprised of Bone Golem and Chris the Car. Audrey. You cannot tell me this demon isn't based off Audrey 2 from the musical version of Little Shop of Horrors from 1986, and I will not be convinced otherwise. I mean, just look at these. Kaneko pretty much transferred the design 1-to-1. I don't know what else you want from me. Betelgeuse. Betelgeuse. It's a demon based off the Tim Burton movie Beetlejuice. I mean, the similarities are they're just right there. That has a second phase that is literally a horrific serpentine monster. Yeah, Betelgeuse takes a page out of Beetlejuice's book and has a large second form that is fought as a boss in the factory district. In terms of actual mythology, Betelgeuse is the same name of a star, the 10th brightest star in the sky to be exact, as well as the second brightest star in the constellation of Orion. Blob. This is one of the few demons that I can say without a shadow of a doubt is based off an American movie. Its demonic compendium entry in Nocturne, DX2, and Imagine refer to it as a bubbling red liquid that grows larger as it devours people. Not only that, but they even reference the fact that the creature is weak to ice, that being the only way it certainly stops its growth and it can be defeated, just like the Blob in the Blob series of films. Yeah, there's a series, there's like 8 of them. Lagoon. Yeah, we were gonna have to get really obscure eventually. Lagoon is a demon that appears in Megami Tensei 1 as well as Kyoyaku Megami Tensei, and the name heavily implies that this demon was based off the Gillman from the creature from the Black Lagoon. I'll never understand why it's a holy demon either. Friday and Redrum. These are basically the same demons, so I'm sticking them together. I mean, they're basically palette swaps of one another. Both of these demons only appear in Megami Tensei 2 under the Kyojin race, which roughly translates into English as Madman. They're both depicted as crazed, chainsaw-wielding killers, which I guess, roughly fits Friday since he's based off Jason Voorhees from the Friday the 13th movies. Did he ever use a chainsaw? As for Redrum, this one is gonna kind of more stretch our brains. It could possibly be a reference to The Shining, as the word is prominent in the book and film. Here's a spoiler. It's murder backwards. The Megami Tensei wiki also says... my voice. The Megami Tensei wiki also says that Executioner was most likely based off Leatherface from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies. But, come on! Same thing with Bitball being referenced to Star Wars. That's... I don't think that's right. Other than, the designs being maybe kind of somewhat similar, I don't see it. However, a couple of Messiah demons do seem to be based on movies. Scanner appears in the first Megami Tensei. His name could be taken from the 1981 Canadian horror movie Scanners, which is a film about several people who have telekinetic powers that are also called scanners. The film was directed by the renowned director David Cronenberg, who is a pioneer in the body horror genre. In the DDS dictionary in the iOS port of Shin Megami Tensei, very powerful psychics who use psychokinesis. Their brains were tampered with to unlock their secret abilities. This left them emotionally unbalanced with ruined personalities, which, at least to me, personally fits the connection. Terminator! Honestly, this one's just for shits and giggles. Literally, the only connection is that it's a gun-toting robotic humanoid with the same name as another gun-toting humanoid from the 1984 Terminator films. The connection between the two is scarce at best, but come on, it's funny. Carrie. We actually do have some proof here that Carrie from Megami Iban Roku Persona is the Carrie from, the Stephen King novel. Even though, even though her name was changed to Karen in the Revelations Persona release. According to the book Persona World... okay. An original demon appearing in Iban Roku. It's believed that she was based on the protagonist from the novel... Oh, that's really fucking awkwardly worded. An original demon appearing in Iban Roku. It's believed that she is based on the protagonist from the novelist Stephen King's maiden work, Carrie. The novel Carrie is an awkward 16-year-old's... Oh god, this is obviously poorly translated. The novel's Carrie is an awkward 16-years-old girl raised by her mother. She is an introvert girl with slow physical growth and is bullied for being dull. But in actuality, Carrie has dormant psychokinetic powers. Having been raised by a mother with extreme aversion to sex, Carrie has no sexual knowledge and starts manifesting her supernatural powers after being maliciously bullied over her first menstruation. On the night of prom, Carrie ran away after another bullying incident, starting a fire in the venue, trapping her classmates inside. At the end of the book, Carrie herself loses her life. Oh my god, that was such a mess to read. That kind of just leads some credibility to this demon actually being based off Carrie. Cyborg Deka. So, Deka in Japanese is a slang term for detectives and very low-rung police officers, which would mean that Cyborg Deka is a cyborg police officer, like the 1987 movie Robocop. It's a weird choice for a demon that only appears in the PlayStation version of Devil Children Black and Red book, but whatever. Baphomet. Baphomet is a mainstay in the series right now, appearing in many Megami Tensei games after Megami Tensei 2. However, in Shin Megami Tensei 2,
there was a different design
than the goat that we all know and love. The design was more closely reminiscent of the version of Baphomet from the 1990 movie Nightbreed, which did eventually see a 3D model in the ill-fated MMO SMT Imagine. I guess you could play the private server or something, but that's only if you love that design of Baphomet really that much. Critter. Okay, this is a stretch. I 100% admit it. Okay, so hear me out. In Giten... Oh, okay, come on. Just let me say this one thing. Critter is also the same name of an American horror movie franchise, but whereas Terminator at least slightly resembles the purported inspiration, Critter is legitimately just a ball of energy. Look, lay off me, I'm already running off nothing here. I fucking had to play Keaton for you all, you better appreciate it. Waxworks. A body being covered in wax is not an unheard of idea. There's a Mexican urban legend called La Pascualita, a wax sculpture so beautiful that it is said to have a body inside. That idea was also used in movies like Mystery of the Wax Museum and its remake House of Wax, all of which originated from an A.M. Burridge short story, also named Waxwork. Honestly, I wanted to say that the inspiration came from the movie Waxworks, but that movie is something else, and it wouldn't work at all. Twinklebell and Disney Demons. Okay, in both Digital Devil Saga and the original Shin Megami Tensei, you're taken through Tokyo Destinyland. Though in Digital Devil Saga, the area is called Coordinate 136. In Digital Devil Saga, the fairy statue Twinklebell offers tips and tells the narrative of the dungeon. This is obviously a play off Tinkerbell from Peter Pan. Yeah, I know that the author of the original Peter Pan story, James Matthew Barrie, was British, but people associate Peter Pan with Disney more at this point. In Shin Megami Tensei, the dungeon Destinyland has two unused sprites for a Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck based demon. They were scrapped for, fucking obvious reasons. However, the sprites were edited and reworked into the PC Engine release of Shin Megami Tensei. If you want to mention every place Destinyland appears in, I guess it's worth noting that it's a hangout spot in Persona 5, but, whatever. Franken and Victor. Wait, what? Frankenstein and Victor? The story of Frankenstein is not American, but I guess I could fit it into a loophole where Frankenstein's monster was most famously portrayed by Boris Karloff in the 1931 movie Frankenstein, and Victor would be included the same way. In the Megami Tensei series, Frankenstein's monster is referred to just as Franken.
Or Frankie if you're playing SMT2.
And his appearance seems to be taken heavily from the Boris Karloff depiction. If you believe it, the only times Franken has showed up were in Shin Megami Tensei 2 and Devil Children. Yep, it doesn't even share any games with its creator. The closest that we get is the fact that Franken appears in Demikid's Light and Dark version, and Victor is a BattleNet opponent, and thus has no interaction with Franken. Instead, Victor appears as a central character in the Devil Summoner games as the host of the Hotel Gomaden, or just his lab in somebody's basement in the Rido games. Here, he takes up the job as the overseer of Demon Fusion.
Something I forgot to mention was that Igor was not a creation of Mary Shelley. Instead, the archetype of the mad scientist's assistant was introduced in the Universal adaptation of Frankenstein. Technically meaning that Igor is a character from an American film.
I also was going to include Nosferatu because of a loose connection to Dracula.
who was famously portrayed by Bela Lugosi in the Universal Dracula movie in 1931. But fuck, dude, I couldn't find any way to wrap that into fitting into this video's theme. There's like 7 different layers of bullshit there, and I don't feel like going through that level of mental gymnastics.
Lastly, for this section, we have the big daddy of all demons,
Louis Cypher.
Okay, this is a real quick one to end off on. The name Louis Cypher is a not-so-smooth way to mask Lucifer's true identity. Hence why most games opt to call him blonde young man or strange girl, or something else earlier on. Famously, the name was used for the main villain of Angel Hearts, who was, fucking, you guessed it, Lucifer, but went by Louis Cypher to mask his true nature. It's kind of silly, yeah, but I had no follow-up to that, and it's just kind of a silly name. Louis-Cypher. Okay, well...
I feel fucking lucid right now. Grimies, that I was going to talk about in the next video. The only source that I could find of the term Grimies being used outside of Megami Iban Roku Persona is the Smurfs. Like, in the Smurfs, there's a race of aliens called Grimies, which it's really just making me lose my shit. Oh my god.
This wraps up the first portion, centering around movie monsters. The next video is going to be about American cryptids, urban legends, and conspiracy theories. Thank you so much for watching. Be careful out there. Just don't get eaten by the blob. I don't fucking know, dude.
Instead, Igor is a character that was introduced in the Universal Godzilla.